The internet is one of the most profound creations of the 21st century, but there are things lurking and hiding in the cracks of the thing that we call the web. Now, most people know that the internet was created around January 1st of 1983. That's basically when people consider it was the birth of the internet. But with the birth of the internet came some absolutely horrifying and terrifying things where bad people came together and created something called the dark web. I don't know a whole lot about the dark web. It's terrifying. I'm not going on there. Absolutely not. Now, there are a lot of people that have visited the dark web and do good things by researching into it, but they're crazy. Absolutely insane. Like actual psychopaths. No. But with their help, we're able to understand more things about the dark web and be able to see it from an outside perspective. So the dark web didn't just pop up out of nowhere. The US government in the early 2000s was having issues communicating via the internet because it wasn't secure. So they opened Onion Routing, and it was initially developed by the US government to protect sensitive intelligence communications. Now, it was kind of the internet, but for the government, so the public couldn't see it. But in the year 2002, the Tor network was released, and it was open to the public. One of the most popular dark websites that most people know is the Silk Road. So the Silk Road was one of the first online black markets, and it's the first modern black market there really was. It was launched in 2011 by its American founder, Ross Ulbricht. Now, this man was trying to create an anonymous place to buy and sell things. So it was basically a hidden service on the Tor network, allowing users to buy and sell products and services between each other anonymously. And a lot of the times, they weren't very great things. A lot of the times when it came to selling things on this market, it was drugs, guns without serial numbers, things that you just can't access in the public world or on the public web. And the only way to purchase these items was with Bitcoin. And remember, this was around 2011, so this was right when cryptocurrency started to become a thing. So it was very sketchy. Now, I don't know about you, but I think the whole thing is sketchy. Like, beyond sketchy. But that doesn't stop people from buying what they want to buy and getting on this website to obtain things that you, like I said, can't buy out in public or on the, just the normal web. And I think that's why I find the dark web so creepy, especially when it comes to these markets, is there's people out there buying these things and doing these things, and we have no clue because it's so hidden and behind the scenes. People like me and you can access it, but most of us know what's going on there and don't want to and shouldn't. Now, I could go on and on and on about the Silk Road because it's a long journey, but it really wasn't that terrifying. It was just a man who was trying to sell things without the government's interference and believed that everybody should have access to these things. Now, this next part of the video, we're going to dive into some of the more horrifying and gruesome things that happen on the dark web. And they're gross! Across the internet, particularly on popular message boards like Reddit and 4chan, rumors have been circulating for years that beyond what might be called the typical dark web, lies an even darker web, known as the Red Rooms. In this hidden corner of the internet, people are able to view live streams of horrible things like torture, human experimentation, and murder, as well as gain access to illegal services such as hitmen, hackers, escorts, and even smuggling of human life. To join these Red Rooms, money must be paid in advance to receive direct link to the site known as an onion. They can watch the live streams as well as chat with other viewers and even offer suggestions. However, while the urban legend of the Red Room has persisted across the internet for some time, many people doubt its existence, or that it has ever existed. Now, in my opinion, I think that this probably does exist. I've heard so many stories, seen so many stories about these Red Rooms, and it really wouldn't surprise me. Because there are some absolutely sick and twisted humans, and with the advancements of technology today, I mean, it's 100% possible for this to be a thing. Do I want to believe they exist? No. But do they? Probably. Now that we're starting to dive into the deeper topics like Red Rooms, I think it's story time. Let me start this off by saying that it's imperative that you stay off the dark web / deep web. No matter what anyone tells you, no good can come from using it, and I'm about to tell you why. I was 15 at the time. I had come home from school on a Friday afternoon, ready to relax, kick back, and enjoy the short break. I had started using code about a year prior, nothing too fancy, just basic Python, Java, HTTPS, etc., and was practicing it daily. Now I had known about the dark web before this took place. I would sometimes buy weed off of it, but that was the extent of it. This particular day, however, I decided to venture further and really take a look at the dark web. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the iceberg diagram representing the internet's contents. For those who don't know, the surface web contains about 10% of the internet's content, while the deep and dark web take up the other 90%. I was ready to see what it really held. I heard stories about what goes down on the deep web, murder, inhumane torture, etc., but I didn't really believe that they were all legit. So I hopped on a TOR and began to see what I could dig up. I started off by going on the hidden wiki and browsing through various websites, most of which contained illegal things such as drugs, hackers, and hitmen for hire, and lots of things I can't talk about. I clicked on a random forum link, which took about a minute to load. I wish I could remember the name of it. It was a forum where people could pick a topic they really wanted to talk about, such as politics, dealing with mental health, etc. I noticed one of the topics was, and I don't even want to go into detail on what I saw there. There was one particular one that caught my eye. The link was in all red, while the rest were all black. It said, "Not for the weak, enter at your own risk." Curious as to what this was, I clicked the link and it brought me to a forum that had only one link to the whole web page. I clicked on the link and it brought me to a chat room. I realized that nobody was saying anything in it, only sending links. This set off alarm bells in my head, because I had an idea of what was on these links. I wish I had listened to my gut feeling, which was telling me to close out while you still can. However, the ignorant, curious teen took over me. I started setting up some protection for myself using the code I had learned. I later realized this amateur coding I did would not protect me from the advanced people with a malicious intent. I clicked on a random link, and a page loaded suspiciously past. It looked to be another chat room. I went to type hello or something, but it would not let me. I sighed and began moving my mouse to go to the previous page when a noise went off. I had received a chat. The message said, "Hello, new user. I see you have found my site. Would you like to continue?" I tried typing it again, but I still couldn't. The next message sent chills down my back, and my hands are shaking just recalling it. It read, "No, son, not the keyboard." I tried turning off my computer, but of course nothing worked. Another message popped up saying, "I guess I'll take that as a no." The screen suddenly changed. A video began playing. It was a black screen, but I could hear a deep male voice say, "Unfortunately for you, you do not have a choice." I grabbed a sticky note and put it over my webcam, and the voice on the screen said, "Ah, so we're playing games now, huh?" The video began to change, and I realized the man was taking his hand off the camera. He was a short man, maybe 5'11", but that brought me no comfort. He held a knife and said, "Name any body part." I then for the first time noticed a cloth in the corner of the room, covering something up, which I could only assume to be a body. I had had enough. I unplugged my computer and lay on the floor panting for hours until I could finally get up. I now suffer from anxiety and won't touch a computer unless I have to. Just be safe out there, guys. I understand being young and a teenager, but absolutely not. I don't even think when I was 15 I would have done that. No. Going into random rooms has to be one of the most terrifying things on the planet. Some of these stories just... I can't come to comprehend why you would even explore. I get it, part of it. Part of me wants to explore, but just knowing who's on there and what is out there is just absolutely terrifying. As I sat alone in my dimly lit bedroom, surrounded by stacks of dusty books and creaking floorboards, I stumbled upon something that would change my life forever. It was an old laptop, tucked away in a forgotten corner of the attic, covered in cobwebs and grime. The screen was cracked and the keyboard was sticky with dried spills, but it still worked. And when I turned it on, I found myself sucked into a dark and terrifying world of the deep web. At first, everything seemed normal enough. I browsed through various forums and websites, reading about conspiracy theories and urban legends. But then, I stumbled upon a forum dedicated to the darkest corners of the internet. The posts were cryptic and ominous, speaking of ancient evils and forbidden knowledge. I dismissed them as mere fantasy, but one post caught my eye. It was a thread titled, "The Red Room," and the users claimed that it was a place where you could find anything your heart desired, but for a price. I laughed it off as ridiculous, but curiosity got the better of me. I searched for the Red Room, and after navigating through countless dead ends and fake links, I finally found it. The website was shrouded in darkness. A low hum filled my speakers. A message popped up on my screen, inviting me to enter my request. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if this was some kind of prank or a trap, but my desire for adventure won out. I typed in my request. I want to see some of the most frightening things imaginable, and hit enter. The room went black. All I could hear was my own breathing. Suddenly, a figure appeared before me, tall and imposing, its face obscured by shadows. It spoke a voice that sent chills down my spine, offering me a glimpse into the depths in madness and terror. I tried to back away, but my feet felt rooted to the spot. The figure leaned closer. It was a breath, cold and rank, and whispered something in my ear. I can never remember what it said, but I knew that it was the last thing I ever wanted to hear. When I woke up, I was lying in my bed, drenched in sweat and trembling uncontrollably. My heart raced and my mind reeled with thoughts. What had I just witnessed? I knew that I had been given a glimpse into the realm beyond our reality, a place where sanity is lost and nightmares come alive. I vowed to never to return to that accursed website, but even now, I know that I will never forget what I saw in that Red Room. Now, that one was a little bit more fantasy-oriented. I know it's a little dumb, but I loved that story. I don't know what it was about that. It just kind of gave me chills, and again, thinking about the dark web already gives me chills, but there was something about that story that just captivated me. So I figured I'd share that one with you guys. I will admit, first off, that I've heard a lot of these deep web / dark web stories, and I've always called bullshit. However, a close friend of mine swore that she had been to this place and that she had seen some really messed up things. Some she would talk about, others she refused. She said some of the things that she had seen would haunt her for the rest of her life. I should have just let it go at that, but I wanted to believe that she was making it all up, and that there was no such place. But I was the one that was wrong. You know the drill by now. I downloaded TOR, found a hidden wiki. I have been warned about some of the links that they can trick you into. It's really crazy and some really horrible things. I clicked a few. They were mostly sex meetups, escort requests, drug deals. Needless to say, I was really starting to think I was right about the deep web. The deep web was just an easy way to make shady deals that couldn't be traced. It was lame, tame, and a little bit boring. I looked around for something remotely interesting until I found the link, The Night Watchman. Okay, this could be interesting, I was thinking. It might be some guy telling scary stories or walking around a sleepy town at night or something. What greeted me was a flat black page with 3 videos blown up to cover the space, sitting side by side on a line. They were paused, and on each of them was a picture of different people. The first one had a family of 4, mom, dad, and 2 little girls. The second was a couple, with the female being very obviously pregnant. The third one was just one woman and her dog, a cute black lab with a white streak over his left eye. Before I could study them for too long, a voice came through. It was male, but slightly distorted, so I couldn't really hear what he actually sounded like. Here is what he said. Good evening. Tonight, the Night Watchmen have brought you a unique household. Each of them live different lives, believe different things, have different future plans. He stopped here and cleared his throat for the next part. It sounded like he was smiling. Watch each video, and then choose one. I really didn't understand the point of this task, but honestly, my interest was piqued. I was curious about what was going on. I clicked the first video. There wasn't much to do. It showed the family in their home, skipping through moments of them watching TV, playing in the backyard, having supper, and parents putting the kids to bed. Starting to make love. It cut off there. Thank God. I was starting to feel like a weird creep. I was seeing parts of people's lives that were meant for only them. I reluctantly clicked the next video. I was transported into the home of a young couple getting ready to start a family. It skipped through to them in the baby's room, hugging and generally looking excited. They ate salads at the kitchen table, went through mail, looked through the baby photos and magazines, watched a TV show, and then went to bed, snuggling up together. This one was so sweet, I couldn't help but smile at what I had seen. However, I was still a bit voyeur in the personal moments. I had gone through the others. I figured it was only right to watch the last one. This one was of a single woman, living with her dog. She was a bit of a slob. She had dishes piled up, laundry on the love seat in the living room, and trash was overflowing. The other 2 had been pretty tidy, the family having some toys and laundry laying around. The couple with a very clean house. I wondered if there was a point to that, since it did show these parts and aspects in the videos. Anyway, the woman seemed lonely. She watched a lot of TV, ate a half a gallon of ice cream, checked her cell phone every few minutes, obviously hoping for a call or a text, played fetch with her dog, fed him, and then went to bed, taking her phone with her. She began to masturbate, and I began to feel incredibly awkward. Thankfully, this one ended. I waited to see the next. The videos reset, it went back to the stills of each one again. The voice came back over and said, "Now that you have seen, which one will you choose?" I sat there and watched, praying that someone else was there watching this too and would choose, but nothing happened for a few minutes. The videos disappeared, and another 3 videos began playing simultaneously. These turned my stomach. They were all 3 tall men. I assumed they were men by what character I could catch. They each wore the same clothing, black shirt, pants, boots, and a long black trench coat that dangled around their ankles. To top it all, they each wore a large, wide-brimmed black hat. "Have you decided? Which one will you choose?" The voice chimed in over and obviously live fed. "Death comes on swift wings for all 4 ill family and friends. You must choose one. This is how the game goes." He thought this was a game? I was horrified. Was I really supposed to choose who died here and who survived? It was ridiculous, and I went to close the page down. Calmly, the voice began again. "Before you close this down, you should know that if you do not choose one of the 3 shown here, your family will be next." I was startled by his declaration, but figured that he was just trying to scare me. "Anna," he said. My heart skipped. He said my name. Now I was officially terrified. I just wanted this to stop. "Anna, dear sweet Anna, I know it's a difficult choice, but it must be made. Please, if you will direct the night watchman to their chore." The original videos came back up, and I knew that meant it was time for me to pick someone to die. Maybe it was just a horrible joke that some hacker and his friends like to play on unsuspecting deep web surfers. I stated out loud. It was more to make me feel better than anything, even though my heart was still pounding. I looked at the people again. There was a family there, children. I couldn't choose them. Then there was the expecting couple. I couldn't do this. It was too much. "Choose," the normally calm voice barked at me. "Choose now." I jumped and looked at the last one. It was a lonely woman with a dog. She had the least to lose. She was alone with kids. She was alone without kids or a husband. It wasn't okay. But I quickly clicked her video. "Very well. So shall it be." The voice was calm and smooth once again. The video of the night watchman came back up. "Night watchman, a choice has been made. You may attend to your work." I watched it in horror as 2 of the watchmen began walking towards the house in front of them, and the 3rd one walked away from the house. I was confused. I chose the lonely woman, but her watchman was walking away. He disappeared into the night, and the feed cut off. The other 2 videos grew bigger and took up the screen. "What's going on? What's going on?" was all I could say. The 2 watchmen that showed it each effortlessly broke into the houses. I was biting my bottom lip, so hard it bled. The feeds walked along with them as they each silently roamed through the houses. One watchman walked into the set-up baby room and looked around gingerly, then made his way across to the hall and the other bedrooms. The other watchman walked slowly down the hall, seemingly trying to decide which room to enter. He chose the children's room. I looked over to the first one. He stood at the foot of the sleeping couple in their bed, holding a huge machete. He walked to the one side and began swinging wildly. There were screams so loud and frightened that it felt like I might pass out or throw up. I looked over to the other video, reluctantly. The watchman stood in the children's room, right in the center of the pink bunk bed. He also brandished a machete. I screamed as he raised it up and reached over and pulled the computer plug out of the wall. I was terrified, traumatized. What had I just witnessed? What had I just done? My mouth felt dry. My head was spinning out of control. My heart felt like it might burst out of my chest. After several hours, I decided to check my computer and hope that the nightmare I had witnessed was gone. There was nothing. Days later, I was checking my email when I stopped in recoil and in horror. There was an email from the night watchman. I finally opened it. You really don't know why. Maybe I was hoping that they would tell me that it had been punked or something. Instead, it was just a few large words on an otherwise white background. "Jenna, thank you for excluding her from a night of Watchman fate. We thank you for your choices too. We truly enjoyed our encounter with you. Come play again anytime." Attached was a picture of the lonely woman walking her dog in the park, still looking down at her phone. I will never, ever, ever access the deep web again. All in all, the dark web is one of those horrifying places that you probably shouldn't visit. Like I said, I'm never going to go on there. I'm too big of a wuss. I'm not doing it. Ever. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I tried to do it where it was informational, you know, kind of the beginning and then also the storytelling, just to kind of do something different to see what you guys would prefer. Do you like the more storytelling side, or do you like the more informational type of video, or do you like them together? Let me know down in the comments, and thank you guys for watching so much. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends. I really appreciate you guys.